Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Curbside with Kids and Cars here at Dell Children's Medical Center in Austin, Texas.
Today we'll be covering the installation of a rear-facing only car seat with a base, and we have a Chicco Keyfit30 as an example. Although keep in mind that even though your car seat may be different than ours, it's important to remember that many of the same techniques and principles will apply. If you're brand new with your car seat, be sure to check out our car seat anatomy video so you can learn all the different pieces of your car seat. Let's give it over to Amber, who will talk us through rear-facing installation with lower anchors.
All right, let's get started. So now let's get started talking about installation of the car seat base. We'll discuss both using the lower anchors and the seat belt. First, I do want to note that one of the most commonly asked questions that we get as technicians is, what is the correct seating position for my child's car seat? Now, we do typically note that the middle seating position, if allowed, is just slightly safer for installation because it is the farthest away from impact if you were to get into an accident. But we do also note that the outboard positions are also crash tested and safe to use for your child's seat. So it really does depend on your family needs and your preference. For this video, we're going to use the rear passenger seat for installation. So now let's take a look at what we need to do for installation for lower anchors. So first, what I like to do is look at my recline angle, okay? Because we want to make sure that that is spot on when we're installing, so that when I click that carrier into the base, baby is nice and cradled in the seat, reclined, so head isn't coming forward, okay? So how I do that, we'll take a look. This bubble we want right in between these arrows. So before I go ahead and get it all nice and installed where it might not be correct, I'm going to push on the seat back right here and see where my bubble goes, because if I were to get this in nice and tight, that's going to give me a pretty good indication of where the bubble will land. So as you can see, it's right in between those arrows, so I think that this is a good recline for this base. Here are my lower anchors in the stored position. I want to go ahead and release them, so I'm going to pull on either side to release both lower anchors, okay? Now, sometimes finding your lower anchor positions in the car can be a little bit tricky and a little bit hard to find. And so what you want to keep an eye out for is sometimes there are these buttons that have a little anchor symbol on them. And underneath, you'll be able to see in this vehicle, I can see my lower anchors. Sometimes they're a little more hidden, so you'll want to feel for that bar. This is how I'm going to connect. I do want to note that I want to make sure that this writing is upright, okay? I don't want to flip this over. I want to make sure that it is upright when I click in, and I'll do 1, 2 on either side, and I want to listen for that audible click to make sure that it's in. Okay, so now you can see that the seat is pretty loose, right? And we don't want it to move more than an inch side to side or front to back. So to tighten, and as you can see, if you mamas are doing this, a way that we can do it that doesn't apply too much pressure or isn't too strenuous is I kind of get in and just use my knee to prop up against the seat, put my hand back here on the base, and I want to pull this tab. If you have somebody that can help you install, that's perfect. But if you have to do it alone, that's also good too. We got this. So now I've pulled on this tab right here. What I want to do is where my lower anchors are connected to the seat, this belt path right here, I want to give it a nice firm tug. And I don't want it to move more than an inch side to side, front to back. So now we can see that it's not doing that. And let's go back and let's check our recline angle. Perfect. Okay. So now we have a nice tight install that's safe for baby, and you're ready to go. Let's give it over to Drew, who will show us how to use the seatbelt.
Okay, so now that Amber's covered all you need to know about using the lower anchors, I'm going to go ahead and talk about using the seatbelt to install this base. It's important to note that they're equally safe and they've both been crash tested with this seat, so it comes down to what you're more comfortable with and what you can get a better installation with. Just as before with the lower anchors, we want to make sure that our base is at a good level before we tighten everything down. So to simulate how the car seat base is installed and making sure that level line is good, we're going to apply a little bit of pressure right here on the base of the seat to, as I get to, again, to mimic that pressure from the seat belt. And we want to make sure that that bubble is still in the center, and it looks like we're good to go. So we can go ahead and get started with installation. Now, on your seat, there should be a few stickers to help you guide where the seat belt should go. So if we look here, there's a couple different reference points, and we're going to using one that has a lap and shoulder belt, so it's going to look like this. So we're both going to come in, go across here, where it says vehicle belt path, and then click in on this side. We're going to secure the seat belt using these orange lock-offs. So you see it says shoulder belt lock-off. So to lock the seat belt to the base, we'll just slide the seat belt up in here after everything is nice and snug with your car seat base. Okay? So we're going to first pull the seat belt all the way out and have a little bit of slack like this. This makes it a lot easier to manage. So you want to grab a little bit of slack close to where the shoulder belt feeds into the vehicle, where that retractor is, with one hand, and then you can feed it through with the other. So just as before, we're going to come up from underneath, following that diagram, across where it says vehicle belt path, and then we'll just click it in. Okay, so now that's secure. We want to make sure that our seat belt is laying flat across the base, that it's not twisted or folded. Okay, so we want to make sure everything is nice and flat. And then we can go ahead and work on securing it. So we pull all the slack out first, and if we notice, this is not locked in now. The base moves around too much. It moves side to side and front to back, and we don't want that to be happening at all. Okay, so just as before, you can put your knee up on the front of the seat, like Amber showed you with the lower anchors, and you can push into the bite of the seat with your other hand. With your free hand, you take a hold of the shoulder belt portion, and you can pull across the top, hold it in place, pull again, and then slide it up into the lock-off. Okay, now it's secure. To test that, we grab where the belt path is, and we try to move it back and forth, and front to back. About as much as a firm handshake is the amount of pressure you want to put on it, and we notice that the base is not moving at all. Before we install our carrier and make sure that our baby is good to go, we want to double check to make sure that it's nice and level, and it looks like our bubble is right there between the lines. Something that's important to note is that even though you have a shoulder belt lock-off on your base, your car seat manual may require you to lock your seat belt. We don't have to on this seat, but I'm going to show you what that looks like just in case your seat requires you to. In order to do so, you're just going to pull slowly out on the seat belt until you get to the very end, and then you should hear a click as it's feeding back in. Okay? Once that's nice and secure, you just make sure you get all the slack out, feed it all the way up to the retractor, and now you're good to go. But remember, double check your owner's manual, because some car seats require you to, and others say that you shouldn't check that. Retractor is locked. So now we're all good to go with the seatbelt installation, and our carrier can be clicked in, and baby is safe to get riding. So there you have rear-facing only installation using either lower anchors or a seatbelt.
Be sure to comment below with any questions that you have or any topics that you'd like to see covered in upcoming videos.
Tune in next week, where we'll be talking about harnessing in a rear-facing only seat.
And remember, your child matters, their car seat does too. See you
y'all
next week.